several incubators set up around the state where you can share those overhead costs, get those businesses started incubating and getting on out on their own. And then help communities take advantage of opportunities and try to link a lot of them with regional partnerships and so forth. I'm going to talk a couple about those. Then there's a community development division. That's primarily, if you've ever heard of the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funding. They have a Main Street program, but these are grants and fundings if you want to have a certified industrial park. If you need water, street, those type of things, your community, your county, those type of things, apply for those funding. A lot of it's basically for infrastructure within your community. Then we have a global recruitment division that looks and goes for foreign direct investors. I know in Western Oklahoma that foreign investment sometimes seems like something we don't think about, don't want to worry about, but we have some major countries that invest highly in jobs and so forth in Oklahoma. Some of the top ones with investments in the state are Germany, Mexico, France, Canada, Japan, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. The ones that the state is looking for from those investments include things like aerospace, bioscience, biomedical. And some of those we have in the state are like, they're well-known names that you don't think they're foreign-owned, but like Legent Technologies, Siemens, Michelin, those type of factories that are foreign-owned countries, but that's foreign-owned companies, but they have some major investment in jobs and production in the state of Oklahoma. Then we still have a division on national recruitment. Whenever somebody's looking to move to the state of Oklahoma or expand in the state of Oklahoma, if they're already existing industry, they have criteria that they want. They put out what we call a RFP, request for proposal, or a request for information from Northwest Oklahoma. When those come out they automatically contact Commerce. If they contact the governor's office, it goes through Commerce, and then we send those out with the criteria. Usually you have a little bit of time to tell them what you have in your community if you want to make a bid for those type of things. And when I say bid, you just want to submit your information, and then they start eliminating those. So I have a contact in every county that I send out those requests for proposals to. A lot of times they're major, they're big opportunities, a lot bigger than what a rural community can handle, or a rural county for that matter. But it's letting people know that there are investments in those things taking place. I do not have anybody in Dewey County on my list, so I need to either recruit somebody like Travis or whoever through the chamber. I've worked with Pauline Foley over the years for several different issues and so forth, so I do need to recruit somebody that I can send those out so you can know what opportunities are taking place, what investments. Because a lot of times if an investment or an industry goes in some place, there might be a manufacturer in Vici, Oklahoma that can supply inputs into that major industry that might go into Woodward or Elk City or somewhere else. So we make those linkages as well. Then we have a workforce development program where they're trying to train and make sure people are work ready, work certified. You can become a work certified community, which says certain level, you've met certain levels, skill levels, literacy levels, and so forth, and then they know that they have a skilled labor force. As I said, I'll get in a little bit more with what's going on in some of the other areas here in just a minute with the workforce. But then I serve as on a regional development team. There's 6 of us across the state out in the rural areas, and my job is to coordinate all those efforts. I'm supposed to be the local contact for the communities and counties out there, and then take those programs and make sure your community gets as much opportunity to participate as need be. So like I said, I send the RFPs out through my office. We have a business retention and expansion program where I go out and meet directly with business and industry leaders. In fact, I might get a contact or something and show up someday and just stop in at IOChem and talk to them, find out what their issues are and so forth. And then we also offer those incentives there for expansion and so forth. I spent a day in Fairview the other day meeting with 4 of their little manufacturers there, talked about some incentives. One of them said, we're kind of to the point of maybe possibly expanding. I sent them the incentive information. They might be expanding 5 jobs. That's what my role is, to find out. But if they had never had a contact with Commerce or so forth, they might not know those incentives and opportunities are available. So that's kind of what my job is. And then one of the other things I work with to gather information, I love to come to communities like this, find out what the issues and so forth going on. But we also have some regional alliances. There's the Northwest Oklahoma Alliance, which is about the 16 counties in the northwest part of the state. where all of those communities and people come together, create the issues that need to be addressed for the northwest part of the state. Does anybody attend most of those meetings?
We used to.
Go to the annual conference in the city several times.
Okay, that legislative deal. And there's another meeting coming up, I have to look at my calendar, in Woodward, coming up quickly in July, and they're going to have I believe the president, CEO of Sandridge Energy, talk about what's going on in all the oil and gas with that area. But my job is to be the point of contact to let communities and businesses know what incentives are out there, and the state. We think we have one of the best incentive programs for expanding and newly created businesses. I want to go ahead and mention another while I'm talking about those meetings. Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb, who's of course from Enid, Northwest Oklahoma, he's holding a series of summits. The first one's going to be in Enid on July 25th, and it's called the 2012 Small Business and Small Manufacturer Regional Summits. Basically, these are for small manufacturers and small businesses, less than 100 employees. Come to Enid for the meeting. They're going to sit down, discuss the issues, discuss the problems with small businesses and manufacturers, get down to some points that need to be addressed. They're going to have about 7 or 8 of these around the state, and then it's going to be what's going to be used to kind of create a legislative agenda to assist small businesses and small manufacturers in the state. But that meeting will be at Oakwood Country Club on July 25th. So I just wanted to throw that out. So real quickly, like I said, my role since I've started, I've been to every one of the counties, and I haven't had a chance to be out here in Dewey County yet, so I appreciate the opportunity. And I want to hear from you in just a little bit of what's taking place. I know in Enid we're seeing major expansion. We're seeing concerns about housing and so forth. Our sales tax revenues are up and growing. Talk about the traffic. I see the traffic here. I know you never used to have this type of traffic in northwest Oklahoma. Alva is seeing a major influx of jobs. Of course, there's a whole new Mississippi line play of oil and gas taking place. Alva's right dead center, the middle of that, and then it's going to move northwest up in through Kansas. Sandridge is hiring 1,000 new jobs in the Alva area. They're training people, the career tech, 8 hours a day, 3 days a week, indefinitely for new employees orientation for Sandridge. But then along with that comes all of the service industries and so forth. CDL drivers are needed everywhere, welders are needed everywhere, but then housing's an issue. So for instance, in Alva right now, you have 2 trains of thoughts, and I'm just kind of giving you some ideas around the region. They have some at Northwestern that are really concerned because every single available rental house has been taken up by the oil field and the expansion. So there's not going to be housing for students that they've had in the past because they're paying a premium on that housing. So one group up there is concerned about housing for students and being able to have the enrollment. There's another train of thought within the university is we're not going to have to worry about housing. Every student, a bunch of students we know, are now taking opportunity to make the money they can foregoing their education for a short time period and going out there making all kinds of money in the oil field. So we're seeing both of those, but the traffic there is bad. If you know where the Sonic is in Alva, I sat there one time and was trying to pull out and go west, which would be across traffic. I sat there for 23 minutes before I could pull out. And the reason I knew that because I was late for a meeting. I was watching my clock, but the traffic is just unbelievable. The oil field, of course, northeast of Enid is the largest wind farm is going in now with all the trucks and traffic and so forth. The largest wind farm in the state of Oklahoma is going in right now. So things are booming. The wind energy out in the Guymon Panhandle area, it's going on everywhere. So northwest Oklahoma, like I said, there's a lot of things happening. I'm trying to figure out how much of that is trickling down to the smaller, like Dewey County, Ellis County. But those things are major issues. One that I will say that could affect Dewey County quite a bit is Dewey and Ellis County is with the Cedars and so forth. There's some investors, some major players working at putting in a possible plant in Enid to go to biofuels and so forth and utilize a lot of biomass, eastern cedars and so forth. And if that comes to play, then there's going to be a lot of activity out in this part harvesting eastern red cedars. I've heard this for 20-some years. This is the closest I think it's ever going to take place. They've already established a national biofeedstock trade center in Enid. So any biofeedstock, just like the Chicago Board of Trade, will be traded through Enid and Motion Inn. So that's an issue that could affect some major areas out here when and if that comes to fruition. But it's getting closer every day. So I'm going to quit rambling. I would like to open it up for questions first of all, but then I'd also like to find out what's going on. What's the feeling? What's the economy? What things are going on in Dewey County and the surrounding area? So does anybody have any questions about what I've thrown out? I know I've given a lot of information. Most of the things I talk about, if you go to okcommerce.gov, that's part of Commerce website, and I do have cards that I'll pass around. But I do have somebody question. But I do think I know you've had leadership in this community. I wrote down years ago. I think we're sitting at the what is the restaurant on the north end of town on the east side in Sealing, the little steak place. Anybody remember? Is it still there?
It's not still there.
It's not still there. I was sitting there in a meeting one time, and a guy named Travis Dennett was sitting there, and we were sitting there several years ago, and we were discussing some.
Was he sober?
Yeah, I think so. He got there early. We were talking about leadership and some leadership development and those type of things. And one thing he told me, in fact, he brought a young gal with him, and he says, you know, the way I look at it, if I have a leadership role, I'm going to bring somebody along with me. So when that opportunity comes along, we need to train somebody to be the next leader for whatever that project is. I'll take on a project and bring somebody along and move them on, and then I can move on to the next issue. And I've used that over and over and over in different communities. So I know you have some leadership like Travis out here that does those type things, and I've never heard it put that way when you talk leadership. If everybody would take somebody, a younger generation or somebody else, train them and mentor them in the programs, or find the one with the fire in their belly for that issue, train them and mentor them on, and then move them on to the next level, and you can move on to the next thing, I think would be well ahead in those type of things. And I know I've never told you that, but that's been a big part of it. But I think you've got the right approach here. I'm just going to, instead of having to step out, you have a little sign out here on the bulletin board. Has anybody looked at that recently? Anybody looked at that when they came in?
Hanging on the door there?
Hanging, well, right around the corner.
Okay.
Let me pull up my picture here. They gave us a new phone, so I'm still trying to figure out how to use it. Took a picture of it so it'd be easier, but I'm not. Okay, it says key elements of resilient communities. Okay, this is hanging right here. Number 1, embrace change and take responsibility. Number 2, practice healthy community behaviors. Number 3, give attention to the basics. Number 4, focus on assets, ideas, and opportunities. Plan and implement a comprehensive development agenda. Decide what you're going to do. Retain and attract youthful population. Value and develop local leadership. I've kind of talked a bit about that. And then act passionately for your community. Okay? That's a good guideline, and you've got it posted right there on the bulletin when I got here earlier. So you've got the guidelines, you've got the people, you got the opportunity, and then hopefully I can be a resource to help you as you go along with those. So I wanted to mention that because that is a fantastic 6 or 7 step process of what communities need to do. So any questions?
I have a question: is why did they position that plant for the bio in Enid? There's probably more cedar west of there.
Right. Strict. That question's been asked a bunch of times because we had meetings with farmers in Camargo and all over. And the biggest issue is just because of the infrastructure, the rail, the location, the trucking in and out of the fuel, and those type of things. So just, I mean, if it comes to fruition, it'll be a $450 million facility going in there soon.
Okay.
But the technology will allow several smaller processing plants to go in different locations to collect, process in a certain way, and then ship it in. So they're not going to be, we understand, not going to be hauling raw cedar all the way to Enid.
Okay.
So, but it's pretty exciting. They've got the Department of Defense. They've got several major defense contractors and all this other. I'm really excited about it. And part of the government's now requiring the military to go to some green fuels and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunity there. But that's just one that I know that could possibly really impact this part of the state. Okay, I'm going to ask a question to you. How is the economy in Dewey County? Sales tax, are you being affected by the oil and gas other than traffic, or what are you seeing? Y'all live here, don't look at traffic.
I think it's as strong as it's been as far as.
Okay, so it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trade going on, and the traffic, but there's a lot of production right here.
Okay.
It's beginning to trickle down.
Things starting to slow down a bit.
Well, I mean, it's trickling down from
the
you know,
other areas.
the subsidiaries. The oil field started up, it's moved, and now it's kind of
Okay.
flowing into the other areas.
Okay. And I heard you mention earlier, you said you didn't know a whole lot at the fireworks. Is that because you're new here, or just changeover in people?
I've been here 30 years since.
And it's just a changeover, just new people.
Just a problem. The people I saw were not new people, they were visitors. They were visiting relatives, in my opinion. I don't think they were new. Lori didn't know them, so if she didn't know them, they weren't in our schools, I guess.
Okay, with the schools, how's your school enrollment? Is it staying up? Is it growing, shrinking? Does anybody know for sure?
Staying pretty steady.
Pretty
I do IT for several surrounding schools, and they're investing new money at grants and stuff into technology, and I mean they're not slowing down.
Okay. But the enrollments are staying up for the most part?
Yeah.
Like I told Travis, the thing I like about my new job is I can get back more into a community rather than when I was covering 3/4 of the state. An issue had arrived, a problem. I would go to that community, I'd present a study, present a report, and then I'd be gone and never had any feedback and so forth. In fact, the 2 weeks before I quit or retired from OSU, I was in Mangum on Tuesday night, I was in Hugo on Wednesday night, and I was in Bonita on Thursday night. So, when you just do that, you can't get a full understanding of what's going on in the issue. So, since I'm new to this, I'm born and raised in Northwest Oklahoma, lived all but 2 years of my life in Northwest Oklahoma, and I'm passionate about it. But I, on purpose, didn't go out and study all the issues. Of course, I'm hearing it now because I can look at statistics all day long. The statistics don't tell me always what's happening, especially as rapid as the economy's changing, because those statistics might be 2, 3, 4 years old. So that's why I'm trying to gather from the local community what's going on. So, any other things going on in the county?
You might have some input on it, but this is one area I get concerned on. It's just like this group. It's constantly getting to be a smaller group of people. Everything I'm involved in is a smaller group of people than it was 5 years ago, and just smaller and smaller constantly. You talk about him saying bring the young people. Everybody's so busy, you can't bring the young people. You can't get anybody to be. It's tough, even for us to be here.
Right.
And it's just, I know it goes in cycles, but it's there's several things that I'm involved in that I'm afraid they're going to go away if we don't get more involvement, just because people that are doing it are.
Several generations of people here. Jennifer and myself and David were involved in about the first certified city program. It was called something else, certified communities or something. Right. Century communities, certified cities. And we rebuilt. I say we were involved in when the Main Street was rebuilt uptown, but that's been 10 years ago at this point. 02, 03. And our leadership, we're kind of tired of pushing the rock up the hill. And so just what Buck said. I mean, Buck's the next generation. These girls are here because she is our chamber director. Leanne has new business uptown, but we're just kind of tired of pushing the rock up the hill, and there's not a lot coming behind us to do so. And we hate to lose the ground because I feel like we started from ground zero. And so we made the rock roll because it fell to the bottom. Well, it's just kind of tough to do that. So I don't know what kind of insight to do on that. You talked about that piece of paper out there. I passed that out about a month ago or 2 months ago at the chamber meeting. I've got a whole folder full of everything. And I date them on the back, and that's probably been around 3 times, but I just do that once in a while. So, I don't know what to do. How do we recruit new people?
Or even gain back the people that used to come. I mean, not only recruit new, but we've lost a lot of people that were very active.
Kind of along that line, I mean, there's, give you concerns. And this, I don't know how, your new job is with the Commerce Department, but several of the organizations I deal with, the Commerce Department is becoming the big brother and getting very hard to deal with. Funding's being cut, everything that we do out here very well, they think they can do better. And everything's being transferred to the city. One of the things you mentioned was, I'm on the OEDA board.
Okay.
And, for years, we've done the workforce training deal, and that's being pulled.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna go away because they don't care about Northwest Oklahoma. I mean, the people we talk to down there, it seems like they're if I bring it in here, I'm gonna keep my job for another 5 years instead of, we can do it much more, for what their estimates are, we could do twice as many people for what they can do for the same amount of money.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if they're people we could, we haven't found the right people to talk to.
Well, and that's.
And it's just not that one. It's about 6 things that's.
Okay. Yeah,
it's a concern for us.
I understand that. Like I said, I didn't want to leave OSU with the job I had for 27 years, but when they get down to the point where I'm covering everywhere and they pull back and they only hire people up there and so forth, and you reach a point where you can't go on. So that's part of the reason Commerce, Secretary Lopez has a lot more feeling, because, let me back up a little bit. When I worked for OSU Extension, I've worked with Commerce. I worked with all these people all over the state, all these agencies, and I've always seen a lot of the things. I've seen they're good and I've seen they're bad. And Commerce transitions every time there's a new governor. There's a new secretary comes in. And what I like, and part of the reason I made the jump now, is because I think Secretary Lopez is concerned about the rural part of the state. That's why we have 7 people like myself out in the rural areas and so forth. I did a lot of questioning because I need another 10 or 15 years worth of work, and I left a secure job. So I believe they're committed to it now. That's what I'm for when I hear those issues and concerns. I know the 2 workforce investment boards in OEDA and the one in Northwest, North Central are fixing to be combined. I was given direction the other day to know that's happening, and I'm supposed to be a part of it, and I'm supposed to be eyes and ears of what's going on and what needs to be done to take that back to the secretary. So, for whatever it's worth, that's part of my role. So, I'm being from the Panhandle. I know being left out. That's the way it works. So if anything, I don't know if that's solving or answering all the problems, but I understand your issues. I understand those, and I'll do whatever I can to assist. But I do know, like I said, that Workforce Investment Board, those 2 boards are being combined into one, and I'm supposed to start showing up at those and being there, and so I'm gonna be a voice that's directly tied into commerce with those issues. So yes.
I'll tell you one thing, I've got a small business, a very small business of
Okay.
catering. I'm a retired firefighter up at Woodward, and we have the farm down here just north of Vici. That's why, we started catering a couple of years ago, real small. Got the licenses, pay the taxes, do the stuff. That's why I'm here. But we've looked at developing to do a restaurant outside somewhere, or not a full-blown even, but just and the infrastructure that you mentioned earlier, it's not in Northwest Oklahoma. To do the things I need to do with to develop a business. That's why I'm looking in Vici now. I need a paved road. I need the traffic we get on our road, Buck, is if it was around Stillwater, it's paved. If we're in a more populated area, but still rural. We go as far out as Cole at Stillwater and be on a paved road with the traffic we got going past my place. I'm a long ways from rural water. My electricity went off twice yesterday because of different things. I mean, once while we was starting to slow cooking the meat last night, I thought this gonna be good, cause last month was cooking for a wedding when it went off. 220 people, didn't work well. So, I mean, so infrastructure is a big thing that we're at a disadvantage out here, and I don't know how you can do that, but just
Okay, well, like I said,
stuff like that.
okay. Who's the supplier out here? Is it?
Well, we have several. We have Northwest
Well,
Electric and OG&E.
They were fast to get it back
Right,
on.
right, but-
I mean, they were fast and they.
But
nothing-
it's the overall infrastructure.
It's the overall
transmission,
infrastructure of
yeah.
that.
I mean, I told people, when we had what was it, 2001, North Central, and we had the huge major ice storm. It was the year after everybody was worried about Y2K, and electricity was out for days and days in some areas.
But
That was the best thing that ever happened in North Central Oklahoma, because the
Right.
entire electrical grid was totally rebuilt. I mean,
yeah, and it's a lot different from the ice storm now. I mean, because we got metal poles. They use metal poles on main transmission lines now. That
So, I mean,
took a hit.
so sometimes those disasters end up being
Right.
being a plus.
Well, I
There never
understand
been-
that, but I mean,
It's
and I'm
just
not
a-
concerned as much about electricity as
Just the road.
traffic. I mean, the people that would go to a restaurant or go to a facility of anything out there, they're not gonna take a nice car or a motorcycle down a gravel road, let alone a pit we got.
Yeah.
And the county's saying they're doing their best. I mean, they're doing the money with the money they got. They collect the revenue, but if they're closer to Oklahoma City,
Yeah.
they'd have more
How
help.
far out are, I mean, where?
Well, I'm a mile off the Mutual Road, or I'm 4 miles north of town out here in 2 East. So, on some pretty good traveled road.
But that's where you'd be looking for location, out
That,
here.
that'd be ideal location for what I want. I mean, there's a bread and breakfast a mile north of me and back west, but,
Okay, who's this, which one's that?
well, it's in development, but
Oh,
it's,
okay.
I mean, it's there. And I don't know if they're open or not yet. Mick, I mean,
Not yet.
I mean,
Yeah.
but they're developing stuff, and that, and they've got access to a paved road, paved frontage. Like that's all I'm saying is, because of our area of the state, paved roads don't exist like they do in other areas.
Okay.
We don't have enough political.
We don't have enough cloud. We've got all the traffic, but
Yeah. Okay, good points.
One of the
Like I said,
things
I'm,
with traffic, when we
that
walk
oil
through
field
there-
traffic that's going through, and we're the flyover states. If you hear that song, we're the flyover states, or counties.
okay, and like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I can solve all these problems, but I wanna know the issues so I can take them back and let those type things know. So,
When you said you wanted input, the three things I wrote down, which was about 2 seconds in front of what you said, was
Okay.
housing, infrastructure, and employee training.
okay.
And so it's nothing new. I mean, you told us the issues,
Right.
but we've always worried about housing. And infrastructure is probably always going to be a part of the game out here.
Now it's turned into affordable housing, not just housing, but it's affordable. The rates are outrageous for.
Do you have a lot of, and I drove around a little bit when I got hurt, do you have a lot of vacant homes here in town?
There are none.
Pretty much all.
One that I know of.
Probably some of that was back in our certified city days. We went out and identified, I don't remember that, 55 or 56 properties or something to that effect. And when we went back and told our city leaders that, they went, oh, they are not. And they drove around, they came back to our meeting and went, there's about 55 or 56 of them houses around here. And we ended up, a lot of those moved, changed hands, sold, and people put stuff in them. And we got
Within
some.
days of the creation of that list.
Do what now?
I said within days of the creation of that list.
Yeah, there was 10 or 15 things happened in 10 days, And but we need the blood. We need somebody that wants to go do that again. But right now, everybody that can capitalize on housing is.
Yeah, that's, hear that everywhere. And then, there's some communities, they say they have the housing, but people don't live there anymore, they don't wanna give them up, and trying to pass those
We see a
ordinances.
little bit of that. We see some, people that it was grandma's house and, they moved away 40 years ago and, taxes cost $8 a year, so why not keep it? We see a little bit of that, but not as much as we did.
Not as much.
No, they finally got sold off or rented, and the Mexicans, they started coming in here, and there isn't there's nothing, rentable or saleable either one.
How much has your Hispanic population grown in this county?
Substantial.
Enid's
That's
running,
an understatement.
I mean, I know Enid's running a series of articles right now on Hennessy. Hennessy's now the 9th highest population percentage of Hispanics in the state. Of course, Guyman's number 1 in my hometown. So, yeah, I mean, it's changed, but I just wasn't sure what it was nowadays. What about some of the...
There were a lot of them at the fireworks last night.
And that's fine, you know,
Yeah.
I have a lot of
They're a
those
good
people,
workforce.
I have a lot of those people as good customers. I see a lot of them people in the grocery store, you
They're
know.
very willing to
Loyal.
do some of the hard labor.
Right.
Well, in that story they're running on Hennessy, they went back to some of the earlier people there and families, and they said when it first came there, it was the Czechs that moved in, and they spoke a different language, and they had this old time guy, he says, when we first moved there and everything, he said, we didn't speak the language, so everybody says they don't speak like us, they drink all the time, and they party different. And he said, now I'm hearing the same thing about the Hispanics. They speak different language, they drink more than us, and everything else. He said that it's just being repeated with a different nationality, so it's kind of an interesting study. What about some of the younger ones? You two, what's your thoughts on the community? Are you from here both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lived here most of our lives. I don't know, I just think there is a lot of people that you see around town that I have no clue who they are. And the traffic is ridiculous.
Technically, that traffic's bringing tax dollars in.
Yeah.
It is, but it's gotten, like, my office is up the, like, few buildings down, and it's like, all I see is trucks all day. Truck after truck after truck.
Those people got to live somewhere, though, and they got to do commerce somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah, just the ones I saw, there were trucks here from, of course, trucking companies and airports. There were 7 different trucking companies. I'm just sitting out here at the Sinclairs, they're going by. And I think one of them was from Vici, and the rest of them are somewhere else.
That Sinclair opens at 4:30 in the morning or something to accommodate that.
I think they moved it down because I heard some kid last night saying, "Hey, Mom, if we're still up doing fireworks 3 in the morning, can I go to B-Mart and get something?"
Oh.
I think they moved it back.
Still up doing fireworks at 3.
Sharon opens the door
Do what?
Sharon gets there at 2 a.m. and the door's not locked. I mean, the
Yeah.
lights aren't on and it's not open, but if you needed something, you can.
Yeah, they might not have the deli ready, but you can go get you a drink or something. Gas.
And our grocery store was open yesterday. And you know the story behind our grocery store.
Yes.
I could tell this story about you since you told one about me. Stan dragged me to the southeast corner of the state somewhere, I can't even tell you where and when and et cetera, and introduced me as the local expert about VIP. I don't know if you guys remember VIP, but that's when we bought or when the townspeople bought the grocery store. Introduced me as the local expert, and I told him, I said, well, when I stood up, I said, the only reason I'm the expert is because I'm more than about 200 miles away from home. That's the only thing that makes me an expert. I thought you were going to crawl into the table that day. You went, I won't say that. But our grocery store was open yesterday. We've got a gentleman running that, and he is our president, and he's usually here. And he was open yesterday. Super strong store now. Matter of fact, getting ready to do an expansion in the building next to him.
Yep.
And it'll be a great deal for our town.
Full-on deli and everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the thing I'm seeing too, and I'm working with several other small communities, the thing I'm seeing from corporate retail, like the Dollars, Family Dollars, all those, and some other ones, they're starting to loosen up their criteria because they're realizing that especially in this part of the state, in this part of the region, that the economy's doing good. I know out in Hooker, there's a gentleman out of Johnson, Kansas. He's had a successful business in Johnson, Kansas, and he's put one in Hooker, Oklahoma. It's a Napa dealership, an Ace Hardware, and a lumberyard, all under one roof. Well, in the past, Napa would have never allowed you to coexist with another, but he's had it successful there, and he's replicating that in Hooker. So Hooker doesn't have an auto parts, they don't have a hardware, and they don't have an Ace Hardware. But he's had it worked, it's worked successful, and they're putting it in another. So I'm seeing those, I'm starting to see more of those opportunities, and Family Dollar, like I said, a lot of those in different ones, which are variety stores that a lot of communities this size don't have. They're gonna be expanding, like 450 stores within the next 14 months. I mean, so they're looking, they're expanding, but their business models and ideas and thoughts are changing. I mean, so there's opportunities if you see those things that you might identify as something, and you might want to work toward those type of directions. So.
Well, as far
One
as
of the
those,
things that- Go ahead.
as far as those guys loosening up their criteria as business owners, probably need to loosen up criteria for employees and stuff some too. Because a lot of your skilled labor, people with degrees and stuff, they're all going to oil field because it's better money.
Yes, yes. The Johnson Correctional Facility, the drug rehab facility at Alva, just on the east side of town, that's where it's a boot camp for young men that are sentenced to a sentence rather than going to the prison system. That facility right now is missing 13 employees they can't fill because they've all left the oil field. But then the oil field is automatically, they're trained in a skill, they're hiring those people right out of that classes immediately. I mean, so, we're seeing that too. Like I said, they're losing. Atwoods and Woodward, I know the Atwoods and Enid, they're only 50% of their employment in Woodward because everybody's working elsewhere. Of course, somebody flippantly one time at a meeting says, well, everybody just needs to raise their wages. Well, I mean, your business models are different. I mean, if you're a small retail or a small gift shop or a deli, you just can't pay $10 or $15 an hour. So, but yeah, those issues are the tough ones.
I saw on Facebook this week that there's only 2 checkers ever at Walmart.
There was only 4 lanes open yesterday at like 5 in the evening whenever it was rushing pretty good.
Now, the grocery store, is it that gentleman owns it, or the city still?
No, the gentleman owns it.
Okay.
He bought it from,
Okay.
did Doug buy it from VIP?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
That deal's been good. I mean, as long as we have Doug, whenever Doug leaves, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Well, and give you another example. Anybody know where Keys, Oklahoma is?
Mhm.
Everybody know how much business there is in Keys, Oklahoma? 0. Keys, Oklahoma, they worked, and this is how people working together. They have a Cimarron Industrial Foundation, whatever the official title is. But Keys was saying, we need to keep some people local, and we have a lot of elderly here and so forth. They actually went together, and this is a unique arrangement. City of Keys decided that we're going to go in and put in a little convenience store, deli, those type of things. It doesn't sell gasoline. So they've gone in, they applied to the Cimarron Industrial Authority. They got a $50,000 CDBG grant from the Department of Commerce to renovate this old building right on the highway. The Cimarron County Industrial Foundation gave them $10,000 or $15,000 loan, I can't remember which one it was, to operate, but then they granted them $5,000 to stock, or $10,000 to stock the initial store. They are now, that little location there, I mean, they talk about it kind of funny. They said we're the only municipality in the state with a beer license. So they had to go through some hoops there. The city was able to get the beer license. So they sell beer. They have a mini, what are they called? A place out of Amarillo that sells little ice cream cakes. Mini cakes, y'all probably know that from out here. But they have groceries, they do sandwich and pizza. And my question was, how do you get all these vendors to come to this little location? Well, all the vendors that come in Amarillo and the beer and the Pepsi and Coke and all those, they run back and forth from Boise City to Elkhart, Kansas, but they stop in. I mean, they have eggs, they have all this type of stuff. And when I was sitting there meeting with those local people in Cimarron County, we were there an hour and a half. 55 people came in and out of that little place right there, just locals. Elderly come in, they sit there and play cards, shot the bull, told what went on. People brought by their kids, get ice cream bars, so forth. But what I'm saying, they are now cash flowing that. They're the largest employer in Keys. I mean, they have 8 people working there, shifts, and it's been a success. And they're now going to get the art department from the school to paint a mural on the north side, put up signage, and once they start catching traffic, right now it's just local people, but they're having sales of close to $1,000 a day in that little tiny grocery store.
Pretty good for Keys America.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing out there. So the uniqueness where the local industrial authority granted and loaned some money, Department of Commerce had some CDBG money to allow them to renovate, and now they have a local, it's not only a local gathering place, but also a revenue generator for the city and those type of things. So the ideas and the thoughts and so forth are changing a lot from what you know, everything had to be this way, this way, this way, and never would allow, so.
Well, some of that stuff is gonna have to change. You would think that corporate America is gonna look at that a little bit. I mean, you look at KFC and Taco Bell and Long John Silver's, I mean, them stores are all together now. Why in the world would you do that? Well, now, you know, Junior can get this, and Sally can get
Right.
this, and Dad can get that. So, it's a pretty cool idea.
So, like I said, if you have those ideas, have those thoughts, or see, you know, what we have, we got several trees or different branches of trees we can run up and look at those ideas, and like I said, I don't know how much longer, don't want to keep you longer, like I said, I'm here to listen and learn, and, so, as far as, if you have anything else, I'm done, or I'll stick around till the last man or woman leaves if they have any other issues, but
Anybody got any questions?
I haven't looked at the time, I don't know where I'm at.
It's 1:15, let's go back to work.
Oh, okay. Stand away from-
Anybody's got questions? Now's the time.
And I have some additional cards, if anybody wants some cards.
One, I didn't realize.
Okay.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you.